Well, hey everyone, my name is Nathan Jones, and if you're new here, welcome. I like to talk about all things movies, specifically Blu-rays, and we are continuing with the film journey. But this time we are talking with my good buddy Warren from Goose's Movies. How are you, man?
Very well. Thank you so much for having me. Really, really appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know of you from the comment section from some time ago, and then eventually I want to say, or maybe you already had a channel before, but and then I started watching your content. And I've been a big fan ever since. So
Oh, thank you so much. Ditto. Ditto to you. Yeah, I've been watching your videos, yeah, for a good long time. Yeah, I've been, yeah, especially recently, loving the closet, loving the whole Criterion boutique closet. That's definitely given me some ideas for here as well.
well, this is my new home. Actually, many people can't see this, but there's actually a bed down here, and this is where I do. So yeah, the rest of my house, I'm just like, yeah, I don't need that anymore. So I'll just live here.
No,
So
just set up camp, get camping stove. Yeah, that's all you need, and then yeah, a small TV.
it's just a small little one of those like tube TVs from back in the day. So that's exactly what it is. So,
How
um,
David Lynch would want his films to be watched for sure.
and yeah, and I get the weather updates from him when I can. And so, but yeah, no, man, I like I said, I've been interacting with you for a bit now, and but yeah, I appreciate you coming on for this. This is awesome. I've been wanting to do this for a bit now, and I've just came back to the film journeys, and reaching out to people. So I definitely thought of you pretty initially. So thanks for joining me.
Oh, absolute pleasure again. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Yeah, very, very, very excited.
Yeah. Well, before we jump into this, can you let everyone know kind of what you do on your channel and whatnot?
Sure. So, yeah, my channel is called Goose's Movies. Talk about yeah Blu-rays, mostly try and stick with boutiques. That's sort of my yeah the sort of main area of focus or interest that I have. Um, I try and do a good fair few unboxings, but I try to make them stuff that I haven't seen on YouTube already, or if I've seen, particularly sort of not the best ones. I try to do, the best job that I can. Um, yeah, I'm quite sporadic in my uploads.
So am I.
It's sort of
So am
yeah,
I.
it goes through a period of having lots of energy and putting up a good few, and then yeah, maybe nothing for a month. But yeah, I appreciate everyone who comes to watch and sticks with me through it.
Yeah. No, I've been enjoying your content, and like you were saying, like it's sporadic, and the life of the content creator on this platform, I feel like there's lots of roller coaster moments of like inspiration, like this, like right now, it's like I have at the time of filming this, I have about four videos set up,
Mm.
which is quite a bit. Normally, I have like one or two that I you would normally put this up and like have structure for a week, but anywho, everyone knows that song and dance if you if you do these kind of things. So, but yeah, no, that's cool. Like I really enjoy your channel, and I really do enjoy those unboxing videos too, because like you were saying, I think you try to put a unique spin on it a little bit more, and get a little bit more in depth than the typical like, hey, look at this shiny thing.
Mm.
So so I appreciate that. Yeah.
Oh, my pleasure. Yeah, it's sort of where my channel originated from. There are a few things when I was getting into collecting that I just I didn't see anywhere, and I was curious about. Often before we buy something, we want to just take a look at what's included, what the extras are, just what the box looks like. So I try and sort of provide provide what I would want to see in an unboxing. So yeah, hopefully I can do that for others as well.
Well, I already know a lot of psychos out there really like our packaging. Like that's what I mean. Like we're all a little bit psychotic for like how does this look? We want
Oh,
it
of course.
to as good as possible. So which is I mean I'm guilty of that too. So it's not so I appreciate you putting out the good work. So for doing that. But before we jump into like that always that first question, what have you kind of been doing lately, like watching wise, like what you've been currently viewing?
So I've got physical media all around me. So I just recently picked up the Jacques
Ah,
Demy set. I've had
yeah.
my eye on this for ages. It actually dropped in price last November, December here, and I went in person to try and get. As we were just saying, like a pristine copy, but unfortunately, everywhere I went had the that sort of like webbed spider like
Yeah, just
security device, and
I
all
hate
the
those
boxes
devices.
were, yeah, they were just annihilated. Um, so actually, this time it dropped in price just a couple of weeks ago here. So finally, I thought, let me just try and order it online, and luckily, it's come in pretty good condition. So, yeah, been loving going through this. I've been, yeah, big fan of sort of French New Wave, but I've never seen any Jacques Demy films. So it's been a real joy steadily making my way through this. And then also another box set as well.
Ooh,
Um,
Pedro
yeah,
Almodovar. Yeah.
yeah. Again, just a filmmaker I was completely unfamiliar with, but it just felt like the time was right. This one's been sat on my shelf for, I don't know, a good few months, and
Um,
yeah, so yeah, I've been really enjoying making my way through, yeah, through his films as well.
I like how you said a few months. That's a low number for me.
It's I'm trying to be ambiguous, so yeah, who knows how long a few months is.
Right, right. I almost picked that up actually when I was over there. I was eyeing that. I was actually when I went to South Bank, the BFI in London.
Yeah, yeah.
Noticed that on the shelf, and I was like, I know that it's more expensive there, but
Mm.
I was just like, I really kind of want that just so I can just have something from here. But I already had spent so much money at FOP that it like it ruined me. So I'm like, I don't have enough, space in my suitcase to do this.
Oh, that would be the big thing. I think if I ever came to the US during one of the sales, a Criterion sale or something like that, I'd just have to take a completely empty suitcase and then just fill it up. But
I kind
obviously,
of
that
want.
would probably double the cost of the trip.
Oh yeah. I had two suitcases and my whole mind was like, okay, this is for clothes and this is for gifts. So, but yeah, no, it's a fun struggle to have. But if we ever are lucky and have the opportunity to go overseas either way, and for anyone
Mm.
else, I'm sure that comes up. So,
Oh,
um,
absolutely.
yeah, geez. Well, those are awesome watches. I'm guilty to say that I have not seen any Jacques Demy films yet, but I have the old box set, the one that's like a little bit
Mm.
bigger of that version up here. Actually, grab it right here. So I've been wanting to watch this for a bit, especially Umbrellas of Cherbourg. I can't say that one right. Been wanting to watch that for a bit. So I'm glad that you got it.
Yeah, it was not what I was expecting. Because yeah, I didn't know he'd made musicals. I was
Hmm.
just, like the French New Wave stuff that I'd seen, um, yeah, was very not musical. So
Right.
that was really quite an experience. So that was actually that's the most recent one I watched. And then I think the next one is The Young Girls of Rochefort, which also is another musical. So yeah, quite a different experience to the usual French New Wave that I'd seen already.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm excited because I mean, like I've seen I actually seen a few Varda films, and I know that they were partners, and so
Mm,
I'm excited to kind of see their their dynamic and their own individual director mark that they have on the French New Wave, and in particular. So I'm very excited about that. I actually think I might. If I'm gonna do another box set, I know I just did Bergman. I think I might jump into that Varda set probably in the summer, maybe, and I might throw in some Demi in there too. I think that'd be a cool little treat to throw in there as well. So,
yeah, yeah.
but
That's two monster box sets to go through. We've got one released by Curzon for Agnes Varda over here, but there's only six of her films, so it's much more sort of manageable. But yeah, I'd love to get my hands on that on the big Criterion one. With I think it's is it everything she ever made.
yeah, I think so. It said the complete films. So because I know she before she passed away had been working with Criterion on this. So
Mm.
so yeah, no, it's the whole thing. It's way up there. So I'm not giving up, but it's a great box set. I at least visually I can tell you that. So
Mm. I
um
like the look of it as well.
yeah, me too. I like how you can switch from her young face to her older face
Mm.
on that. Yeah, so it's cool. You know, I know you mentioned Curzon. I'm super excited for that Kieslowski set that they're putting out.
Oh
Um,
yeah. Oh my goodness.
I really want that.
I just I took a bit of a collecting break at the beginning of this year, and that was announced during that time, and I was like, this is probably going to be the first thing that I pre-order as soon as I'm back into buying things, and it was probably about the third thing. But oh yeah, I've jumped on that. I'm a huge fan of the Three Colors trilogy and Koslowski in general. I think maybe Decalogue is one of the greatest cinematic achievements ever. So yeah, kind of fingers crossed for Decalogue at some point soon, because Curzon are releasing the Double Life of Veronique as well on 4K. Not quite in the same sort of packaging, but yeah, very very excited for that Three Colors trilogy release.
Yeah, I am too, because it's been a second since I've seen Kieslowski. I want to
Mm.
say the Double Life was something I had seen for the first time last year or the year before. So that was like the more recent thing that I had seen from him. Then I also picked up the Cinema of Conflict from Arrow box set of his early stuff. So I still haven't seen it yet though. But everything I've seen from him from Decalogue is the Three Colors. Amazing, amazing stuff. All right, so moving from there, now we can start the film journey with what is your earliest movie memory that you can remember?
It's such a difficult question. I've been racking my brains trying to think what the earliest memory could be. Um, I think it's probably Bambi. Um, I've got no idea when I would have watched it, or whether it was on TV or at the cinema. But I think probably there's like a frame of Bambi that's sort of seared on my memory. Um, but the first, interestingly, I think one of the first experiences I had of cinema was actually something I'd forgotten. Interestingly enough, so probably about 10 years ago now. I was back visiting family over Christmas, and as it usually is, Star Wars was on TV. I just found myself watching Empire Strikes Back, and I started thinking to myself, I can't remember a time where I didn't know this film back to front. I can't remember ever seeing Star Wars for the first time or experiencing any of the originals for the first time. And so I asked my mum. I said, "Can you remember when I saw these for the first time when I first watched them?" And she actually said she thinks it was the first film I ever was taken to at the cinema. Probably I think when I was about 4 or 5, maybe. So she thinks that's probably the first cinema experience that I had, and I just quite like that thought of um, yeah, Star Wars sort of always being, always being a part of my cinema journey, almost, like one of the first sort of parts of my cinema journey, even though I can't really remember, that first time. Clearly, it had some sort of like, lasting impact on me.
I was going to say, I wonder if you remembered the all the changes that you saw through the years for the for those at least
Yeah,
the original trilogy.
and unfortunately, I can't ever remember Han shooting first. I know in my heart that he does, but I think probably the first time, actually, the first time that must have been before the special edition. So I guess I did see it. Maybe that's why I know in my heart that he did shoot first, even
Exactly.
though, yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to dig deep here. So, but no, that's great. I'm glad that you know, just thinking about like those things where like you just kind of it's weird how you like watch a movie sometimes and you think about like, well, I've seen this before.
Mm,
And then it brings you back to kind of like, oh, when have I, when did I see this, or how did this thing come up, and like, like I'm not remembering, something like that so subtle, and especially when I mean, it's that early. It's one of those things where obviously you don't remember everything during that time period, but of course it was super impactful, clearly, because it continues to
yeah,
bring you joy. So that's what's amazing about things like that. So Star Wars,
enormously so. Yeah,
yeah,
it's definitely a form. It was a formative. It must have been a formative experience in some way. I love sci-fi now, and who knows what other genre I would have preferred had that not been one of my first cinema experiences for sure.
yeah, for sure. I wonder. I was gonna say when you said Bambi was like probably one of your first memories that you remember. Do you know right around that young time that you started watching movies a little bit more frequently? Was there like somebody in your family or a friend that like kind of exposed you more to movies at all?
I'm not sure really. I mean, we had a good few VHS tapes in the house as I was growing up, as all of us did, and there were definitely a few that I certainly was more drawn to. I feel like one of the first ones I ever got was Shanghai Noon. Um,
Jackie Chan.
yeah, Jackie Chan,
Yeah.
Owen Wilson, an absolute joy of a film. Not that I've seen it for years, but I've certainly got joyous memories of it. And actually, yeah, I still quote I still quote it on quite a regular basis, even though I haven't seen it for a long time. I forget when that came out exactly.
Oh,
Late
like the
nineties, it must have been
very,
maybe.
yeah, very, I want to say either really late 90s or early 2000s. It's one of the
Mm,
two, but don't quote me.
yeah. But that was definitely one that saw an enormous amount of use. Um, And yeah, I think it was probably mostly through the VHS tapes that we had that I watched most of them. I don't remember going to the cinema too much, though I'm sure I did. I'm sure my parents would have taken me plenty of times, but I feel like definitely the VHS tapes. I mean, as kids, you love to watch things again and again and again, much to the chagrin of all the adults around you.
Uh-huh, right.
I'm
Okay.
sure.
I have
Um,
seen Shrek 200 times or
and you still want to see it the 201st
yeah,
when you're a kid. You still want to watch it,
exactly. Mhm.
all over again. Um, yeah, Rush Hour was another one for me. Another Jackie Chan. Clearly he
Jackie
had
Chan
a big
immediately
impact
clicks.
on my childhood as well.
Hey, that's not a
um,
bad childhood.
absolutely. I wish I could have learnt those moves, and I'd be much better off now. But
I
sadly,
think we all do. I wish we could be like that. I'm definitely not as flexible as I used to be.
oh my goodness, yeah, not at all. If
But
the days of me being able to touch my toes are long past. They've long passed.
I'm lucky because I have really long arms that I can still do that. But I'm
Oh, very impressive.
knocking on wood for that though. I was gonna say, you were saying that like you don't rightly recall too many cinema trips per se, but do you remember kind of that transition to maybe young adulthood? That did any of these things like kind of click for you when you were like obviously I think as kids we enjoy these things and watch movies, but when did it kind of become more of a obsession or like a passion of yours?
Hmm. I think it was probably Lord of the Rings that did it.
Mm,
Probably similar for lots of us. I remember my parents didn't let me go see it at the cinema when it first came out. I forget exactly why. Maybe they thought it was too violent or too scary or something like that. And I ended up watching it for the first time in maybe 1 or 2 years later in an art class of all places. I've got no idea why we were watching it in art, but I actually have another memory of that was the first place I ever played the didgeridoo. So clearly it was that sort of class.
crazy class.
yeah. But I remember, we must have watched like 20 or 30 minutes of it in that. And all my classmates, all my friends, they were like amazed that I hadn't seen it. Everyone was like, "Oh, you're gonna love it! You're gonna love it!" And yeah, obviously, I loved it. I remember running home, and saying to my parents like, "Oh, we've got to watch this. We've got to watch this." And obviously, enough time had passed that they thought I could handle it. And so yeah, we must have because I don't think we bought them at that point. But we if yeah I can't rightly remember. We must have gone to Blockbuster to rent them, and yeah, that sort of started the love affair with with Lord of the Rings in particular. And then yeah, I've got the just out of sorry, there's a big bookcase next to me. I've got those originals, the original extended editions that I've seen a lot
Green,
of
red, and
use over the
blue.
years.
I have them over there.
And they still look great after
Yeah,
all
they
this
do.
time. They've held up so well, and still probably unsurpassed with the level of extras and effort that was put into those releases. Even by boutique standards these days.
Yeah, I mean that was probably my first exposure to special features was watching the Lord of
Mm.
the Rings extra features and like, hey, how does 9 hours of per film sound? Of extra stuff.
Yeah.
That's so wild to me. And I think, and this might be controversial, but like maybe there's a little too much saturation of special features because I don't have the time to watch all of them
Oh,
anymore.
tell me
But
about it. Yeah.
yeah, but I love the fact that, a lot of these movies now, I mean, do get a lot of more attention that they didn't, I guess, initially get when it came out on physical media in the first place from like maybe the
Mm.
studio or something. So we are living in a good spot, but man, those Lord of the Ring movies, those are some good movies. I'm glad that you still have them though. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, pride of place, pride of place. Honestly, I got the 4K steelbooks whenever they came out. I forget if
Mhm.
it was last year or the year before. But honestly, I don't like them as much as the old DVDs.
Neither do I.
I still think they look so much better.
Yeah. I'm in the same boat. I have the 4K steelbooks as well. And then I also got that Blu-ray box set with extended.
Mm.
The gold box. That's the one I visited the most because it still had the special features. But the
Sure.
4Ks, I don't know why they took away the special features, but
Yeah, I have no idea.
it's good to have them as backups in those DVDs and those blue and like the Blu-rays. So I'm glad I
Mm.
still have those.
The
So
Blu-rays that when that box set released, that was in like my dark ages of not collecting. So I missed out on a good few of those. Yeah, like the that Star Wars release and the Lord of the Rings ones as well. Yeah, so they've never been sadly never been in my collection.
well, tell me more about that, like that dark age when you weren't collecting. What were you more focusing on then? Were just other collecting?
No other collecting really. It's interesting. I sort of started. I mean, yeah, it was around that time I sort of started doing a bit of collecting. I remember buying a few DVDs. I think I probably got my first job when I was a teenager, and that was sort of sparing me on to have a bit of spare income to to sink into some films. But then once I went to university, that kind of stopped for a good chunk of time, and I didn't really pick it up until I sort of flirted with the idea back in 2018 and like bought a few steel books and I was sort of like skimming the YouTube videos on physical media and that sort of thing and I mean I had a DVD collection for a long time but yeah it was sort of it's funny how it sort of comes in like sort of ebbs and flows a little bit for me. So yeah, nothing while I was at university, and then shortly after university, I had like a flurry of collecting for maybe a year and a half, couple of years, and then nothing again until about 2018 when I sort of dipped my toe back in, and then really sort of went back in 2020, and yeah, my finances have not been the same the same since then.
No comment on that for me. Because that, yeah, and it didn't help that around that time, like labels started popping up and more and putting up a lot more content and a lot more things
Mm.
that we all were like, ooh, look at that. And so man, yeah, so I guess it wasn't that long ago then that you kind of got back into like the physical media realm. I mean, as sounds similar to me, at least in the sense that we had DVD collections for a long time, right?
Mm.
I feel like a lot of us probably had that, but like weren't like super serious collectors. Maybe just like DVD, like, hey, I like this movie, I want to buy it on DVD. Is that kind of how it was initially for you?
Yeah, I think certainly when I was a teenager, that was definitely it. I wanted to have, you want the favorites. I remember buying, the Matrix trilogy, back when it was a trilogy. Those were good days. And yeah, like got the Austin Powers trilogy as well. And I just wanted to have, you sort of want your favorites so that you can watch them. I suppose, a hangover from the VHS days. You want to have, you want to have the films that you love. And then yeah, when I sort of had like a year and a half back in, I was particularly that sort of I remember working towards I wanted to own 100 DVDs. That was like the goal, and sort of explore a bit more of cinema through that. But then again that died when I guess I moved city around that time. Um, And then ever since then, you know, I made it to 100 DVDs. You'll be glad to know, and I still have them.
Good, good.
And yeah, far surpassed it. But then I dragged around that one bookcase. It might have actually been this bookcase that's full of Blu-rays now. I dragged that around full of DVDs from house to house to house to house for so long, and so it was always sort of in the background of my life, but never really, yeah, it never really took off until again sort of 2018. Must have been, you know, probably started watching videos about physical media back in 2017, and then yeah, as I say, dipped the toe back in 2018 with a few steelbooks, and then 2020 is the year that I discovered, you know, boutiques, and then it's, you know, that's once you discover that, it's there's just, you know, I liken it to I was enjoying like a pond of film, and then I discovered that actually there's a whole ocean of film, and it's
Hmm.
just so much more to get into, to explore, to enjoy. You know, just being stuck on blockbusters or English language, it's just there's so much more out there, and it's all not all of it is amazing, but there's so many amazing films just to yeah to discover and enjoy.
Yeah, and it doesn't help that we're all enablers of this whole. So
Oh, absolutely. Oh my
yeah,
goodness, yeah.
like, ooh, check out this shiny thing that I got from this insert whatever boutique label you want, and then everyone's like, you know what, I'm thinking about that too. But yeah,
That's too true.
yeah, we've caught on though, hopefully. But I hope everyone, thank you for enabling us and vice versa.
Oh,
So
my pleasure. My pleasure.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
I recently watched Chris Mohan's been doing some live streams about some Indicator releases, and I don't know if you probably saw the email that Indicator are having the next sale on
oh yeah,
the 24th,
I have it marked
and
on my
yeah,
calendar.
oh my goodness, me too. I was like, yeah, there's a couple of titles I want to try and take it easy with this sale, but after watching his videos, I'm like, oh man, now I've got this huge list of like recommendations, and what can I do? I've got to go for him. You've got to go for him.
I've shook the man's hand, so I can tell you this. Those recommendations are probably serious. So
Oh, good as gold. I'm sure they're good as gold. Yeah, I look forward to it.
yeah, no, I've been enjoying that his that side of stuff too. Even though I've been trying to plug my ears, I don't want to. There's so much in my collection of Indicator that I haven't seen, and I'm very ashamed to
Mm.
say that. But I love that label and the stuff that they're doing. So
Oh,
um,
me too. Yeah, I'm thankfully you can't see it, but there's definitely a layer of dust on more than a couple of mine that are just they're begging to be watched, and they will be watched.
they will
But
be
yeah,
watched.
it's a tough one when the sale comes around and you're like, well, I really should be watching these, but it would also be good to just get the ones that I want before they're out of print or whatever it is, you know.
Exactly. And that's the other thing. Scarcity is a big thing too, but that's a whole other tangent. So,
Oh,
um,
sure.
but I guess circling back, I know you probably have mentioned some of these things, as you were talking about kind of how you were growing up with movies and whatnot. But what are some of your favorite films that you enjoy? Like some of like those childhood ones up to like where you're at now.
So I've tried to sort of think of the more the more interesting ones that I could think. Obviously, you know, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, they're, you know, taken for granted, absolute favorites. I say a sort of recent one that I discovered was I don't know if you can see that. It's called
Oh,
the Great White Silence.
mhm.
I don't know if you've seen this one.
I don't believe I have.
I think
That's a BFI version right there.
yeah, I feel like Kino Lorber might have released it in the US. I could be wrong on that. It comes in like a double pack with the Epic of Everest, and I'm pretty sure Kino have released. But this was my first decide, and even though it's my first one, it's definitely my favorite. I revisit this so often, and I always try and introduce this, like show this to people as often as I can. It's a documentary from sort of made around 1910, 1911 to 1914, I think. And it's about Captain Scott, whose middle name was Falcon, which is just the most awesome middle name ever.
Those old names
um,
are badass. So
oh, incredible. And I mean, it suits him down to a T. And yeah, it just sort of follows him as he takes his men, tries to get to the South Pole, to sort of a tragic, very very famous expedition, but unfortunately ended in tragedy. But I mean, it's literally like watching. You're actually watching history. Like it's just astonishing stuff, and there's so much in this. Like there's one particular shot where um, you think how could they possibly have done this in 1910 1911, but you look at the camera sort of angled towards the front of the ship as it's going through the ice, and it's just absolutely astonishing. And then unlike sort of documentaries these days, the camera sort of shifts and it shows you how they did it, and they built this special rigging for on the outside of the ship for the cameraman to like lie on to take the video of the front of the ship as it's going through the ice, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful film. It's not very long. It's about an hour and a half. Yeah, and can't recommend it enough. And yeah, a brilliant restoration as well. I don't know if the BFI did the restoration themselves, but yeah, it looks absolutely fantastic. And yeah, as I say, I try and because silent cinema is not exactly the most popular thing, but everyone I've shown this to has loved it.
I can't
It's
wait
just
to.
such an incredible an incredible film. Yeah.
I'm adding it to my list now, so I'm gonna do it
Oh,
right as you're talking.
you won't regret it.
Oh yeah. So no, but keep going. I'm listening as I'm adding this to my list.
Next one I'll go for is
Ghost World.
the Ghost World. So this one being one of my favorites because it's not released by Criterion here in the UK. So I actually imported this one because it just looks fantastic. Criterion have done just such a stunning job with this one. And yeah, sort of discovered this one during that sort of period in my early 20s when I got back into collecting for a while, and watched Ghost World for the first time, and it immediately made its way onto my list of favorites, and it's been there ever since through multiple rewatches, and it was such a long time coming being able to order this one and import it and actually get it in my hands, and display it now as I do quite often. But yeah, I absolutely love this one. I think I said it probably in one of my videos because I rewatched it recently in December, I think. I discovered American Beauty and Ghost World sort of independently of each other, but around a very similar time. And obviously, Thora Birch is in both of them, and just
Mhm.
made I don't know, she was just on fire at that period. I think this was 2001, maybe American Beauty, maybe 2000. But yeah, both absolutely incredible films. But yeah, this one really sort of a standout for me, like an anarchic coming of age story.
Oh, for sure, for
What's
sure.
not to love?
Yeah,
Um,
it's
yeah, and obviously Steve Buscemi. I mean, anything the man is in, you can't go wrong. But he's particularly, I don't know, engaging in how he plays this particular role. I don't know. There's just a lot to love about this one, and the whole sort of like the clothing style and the vibe and sort of like how it's shot is it's just brilliant. It's wonderful.
no, I love the aesthetic of that film. I think it captures a very particular time and
Mm.
as well. Not just in like that age range, like in high school and the transition, but like the style, like you were saying, like
Yeah,
and
yeah.
also just the lingo and I guess the vibe really is the best way to say it, kind of. But yeah, that's a great movie. Actually, I watched Welcome to the Dollhouse from Radiance the other day.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah.
and I got a lot of Ghost World vibes when I was watching that movie. I was like, man, this has got some similarities. I mean, it's obviously very different,
Mm.
but yeah, that's what I thought of. So I'm glad you brought that one up because that's a great movie.
I've got unfortunately I made a mistake. Well, I made a mistake when I was pre-ordering the Radiance titles, and I ordered the first 10 in one go, and they don't
I have to
ship
wait.
until the whole order ships. So I'm like, I've been waiting, and I think I'll eventually get them in June. But yeah, I've been so excited. That was one of the first ones that I wanted to see when they were saying they were releasing Welcome to the Dollhouse. I'm so excited to see that. I've never seen it ever,
Yeah,
so yeah, I can't wait to get that one in hand.
I made the same mistake, by the way. Very
Oh,
similar.
did you?
I
Oh, I'm
very
glad that
similar
I'm not the
one.
only one.
Yeah, I pre-ordered the January bundle along with a title in May that was
Mm.
together. So the first two titles and then that one, and I was kind of curious, like why. they didn't the first two hadn't shipped, and but luckily I got it sorted where I could split the order, so
Oh,
it all
bro.
worked out. And I'll get that later. So, but yeah, no, I hope Godspeed on the on getting those films, because
Thank you.
I
Yeah.
I thought that waiting 3 months, because I just got my first ratings films like a week and a half ago, so not that long
Mm.
ago, and I'm just watching all my friends being like, "This one's really good. This one's this one." I'm like, "All right,
Yeah.
shut up." So
I've been doing the exact same thing. It's like I want to see people unboxing it and talking about it, but also I'm like, oh man, I want to have it.
exactly, exactly. But we live in those times, I guess, with shipping
Mm.
right now, and I know things were, especially with the Royal Mail, a
Oh
little bit,
goodness, yeah.
yeah, very messy. But I mean, for good reasons, obviously.
Mm.
When I say that, I mean like I'm on the side of the workers. So
Oh, 100%,
yeah,
yeah. I mean, yeah, anything. I'm not sure I actually ordered. I think that was probably during my collecting break. But oh yeah, absolutely. I'll happily have a delay on the stuff that's arriving so that
yeah.
they can get
I
fair
have
pay.
I
Yeah,
have other
100%.
things to
Yeah,
watch. I have, so,
yeah, exactly. There's
I
no
have other
shortage of things. Yeah.
right. Yeah. Well, I guess shifting back to those favorite movies, like that's a pretty eclectic mix right there. Like documentary, Lord of the Rings, those coming of age movies with like Ghost World and whatnot. That's awesome though. I always love seeing everyone's imprint on like what drove them to this whole thing. So I think those are cool. So
Mm.
do you have any?
Tried to be sort of as as wide ranging as I could. There's so many films that I was thinking, um, but a lot of them were just one watch. So I don't know if you've seen Dinner in America. Arrow
No,
released it,
but
I think, last year.
I want to see it.
That
I remember
it's
My friend Sam talking
it's
about
so great. Oh, do you know that's one of the reasons why I bought it because I watched his video where
it.
he talked
Sam.
about
It's
it,
Sam, damn
and
it.
oh man, too many recommendations and just too many good films to get through. But because that also has quite similar vibes to Ghost World in a way, but also a very different film. And that's definitely made its way onto my list of favorites. But it's difficult to say that it's actually a favorite because I've only seen it the once.
One time.
Um, yeah, so it's always a tough one. So let me talk about one that's recently got a 4K release. Unfortunately, I've only got this
Oh
German
yeah,
DVD,
yeah.
German Blu-ray version of it. But the Virgin Suicides, which thankfully has just got a 4K in the UK as well. Studio Canal have just released it. I think just maybe even a week or two ago. But yeah, this one was I want to say the first film that really stayed with me for quite a while after I watched it. Um, it's just got some sort of eerie, mysterious, ethereal quality to the film. So like expertly directed by Sofia Coppola, and it just this was a film that really sort of lingered with me for days and weeks afterwards. And yeah, I just couldn't shake it. But just such a fantastic film and one that I found as well doesn't lose that on rewatches as well. You're still like what has happened, what has gone on, the mystery still remains, kind of similar to Picnic at Hanging Rock in that
Oh
way.
yeah.
The mystery, it doesn't it doesn't, or for me anyway, it doesn't really dull with rewatches.
No.
So yeah, this was a real big one for me, one of the first that really just haunted me, for want of a better word, for a long time after.
I lucked out and had never. I hadn't. I've still not seen it before, but I picked up the 4K from Criterion
Mm.
for the first time. But I did not have a previous. I didn't have the previous Blu-ray from Criterion, nor did I have that version. I have not seen it, but I'm now I'm pretty excited to watch it. So
Oh yeah, highly recommend it. If you've seen Picnic at Hanging Rock, it's kind of got kind of similar sort of vibes to that, or something like maybe like Peppermint Soda if you've seen that one. There's a few films that have, I don't know, like
a
I don't know, kind
peculiarity.
of drawn to it. Yeah,
Yeah.
just sort of like maybe Peppermint Soda not so much, but definitely Picnic at Hanging Rock. I sort of like it's just like an X Files vibe,
Hmm.
like the
Yeah.
best of the X Files vibe, like imbibed into a film. Um, yeah, it's definitely got that. Yeah, highly recommend it.
And I know you just mentioned Picnic, but I am stoked for that second sight release. So
Oh man, yeah, that's been a tough one. I'm still trying to decide, like, can I spend £60 on a single release? I feel like the answer is probably going to end up being yes, but yeah, I've been holding off up until
certain
now.
releases, I understand. So I mean that one I double dipped as well. I mean I have the old version of Criterion, but
Mm.
I love that movie so much that I'm like I'll do it.
Oh
So,
yeah, it's got to be worth it. To be fair, the box as well looks spectacular. I love that artwork, so I feel like I'm definitely going to buckle.
yeah, I mean if I don't pressure you enough and other people, so that's
Yeah.
that's how this game works anymore. So Um, but I was gonna say, shifting gears, with some of those favorite films, do you have any like actors or actresses or directors that you follow alongside those that you have favorites in particular?
So I was trying to think of. I'm sort of thinking of actors like ones that work today and ones that don't work anymore, maybe passed away. Um, Particularly for me at the moment, Aubrey Plaza is right at, like, I don't think I've talked about it's like she's right at the top of my list. I'm loving what she's doing. I recently just finished a few days ago the second season of White Lotus, which I know isn't a film, but she is just so fantastic in it. Um, I saw, I don't know if you've seen Black Bear. I think it came out a couple of years ago. Highly recommend that as well. But unfortunately, I don't know if there's a Blu-ray release of it. Certainly not in the UK. Possibly one in the US. But yeah, I've everything I've seen her in. Yeah, I've just been really enjoying what she's doing. Just, obviously, I'm a big fan of Parks and Rec,
Me
so
too.
that's sort
Yeah.
of where that's where I know her from. And it's just so great that she hasn't been pigeonholed and she's been given the opportunity to just do different stuff. And really, yeah, I think she's doing an amazing job. Um, I watched one. She did one with Michael Caine. I think, is it called Bestsellers, or I think it's Bestsellers. Michael Caine plays like this old crotchety author. He's great in it, and the film itself is quite average, but just like her performance is so great in the film, and obviously Michael Caine is stellar as as you'd imagine him to be. But yeah, really, yeah, everything that she's doing at the moment just seems like she's pushing herself more and more. I know Emily the Criminal did quite well last year, which I was delighted to see as well. But yeah, man, Black Bear just showed me sort of the range that she can show. Um, yeah, I'm still fingers crossed for for a
Yep.
release of that.
Yeah. Well, now I got to add all these movies to my list because I mean I've obviously been aware of her for quite some time with Parks and Rec, and I've seen her in other things like Ingrid Goes West, which I really like,
Oh
uh,
yeah, yeah.
and those like those types of films. But yeah, I love like a good indie movie with her. I always feel like she does a really really good job, and like it's
Mm,
definitely one of those people that like if you just look at the box and you're like, oh, she's in it, I'll watch it. So
100%. Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, yeah, even going back to is it Mark Duplass, like when
Oh,
she was in
absolutely.
Safety Guaranteed?
So,
Oh no,
yeah, safety
Safety Not
not
Guaranteed.
guaranteed. Yeah.
Um, yeah, even going back to that, I mean, she's still so good in it. I mean, it's kind of like an April role in that one, but yeah, just yeah, she's come a long way, and yeah, loving everything that she's doing. As you say, if I see she's in it, I mean, that's why I watched The White Lotus,
Right.
really, just because she was in it, and yeah, was handsomely rewarded because it's fantastic.
Well, nice. Yeah, I was gonna say you're gonna have to send me a list because I'm not gonna just pull out my phone and get on Amazon. To at least have a long list of things to get later on. But yeah, let's keep going. What other actors and actresses do you like to follow? I guess.
So I'd say yeah. So working today, if if it's the right role for him, I think Jake Gyllenhaal is phenomenal. Um, Especially recently, he's been choosing films that I'm just not interested in. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, obviously, he must be interested in them some way. Um, But I remember seeing Prisoners and just being absolutely blown away by it and by his performance in it. I think he's one of those that rare caliber of actor where I really don't see him. I see the character, particularly yeah, Prisoners in Nightcrawler as well. And really enjoyed his performance in Southpaw, where he plays a boxer. I thought that film's like criminally overlooked and underrated. Um, yeah, if he's in the right role, like an interesting film, I think he's absolutely brilliant. Really enjoyed his performance in Paul Dano's directorial debut, Wildlife.
Yeah, saw
I
that
think is
too.
it Wildlife? Yeah,
Yeah, it's wildlife.
um, yeah. I thought he was brilliant in that. Really good. I mean, he's not in it, you know. He's yeah the entire way through, but he's yeah even in that he's just so good. If he chooses you know, films that I'm interested in.
Right, right.
Anyway, I'm sure he's good in the other ones, but yeah, his more recent stuff I haven't really had an enormous amount of interest in. But yeah, those particular ones just yeah really blew me away. Um, Actors that aren't around anymore or sort of aren't working anymore. Probably my favorite would be Olivia de Havilland.
Oh yeah.
Um, I think she is just astonishing in every every role she's ever done. Certainly every role that yeah, honestly, I've got the
Just I
same
just I immediately I just immediately
right here.
pictured it
Honestly,
as soon as
yeah,
you said it. Yeah.
it's I absolutely love the snake pit. I thought it was incredible, um, and just I don't know. It's difficult to even she's just so real in what she does. Like she just commits 100%. And again, she's like one of that rare caliber of actors that just melts into the role, and it stops being her, and she just becomes the character so well, and that makes everything that she's in so incredibly compelling and engaging to watch. Um, yeah, Olivia de Havilland is right up there with again, uh, if I see her name on a release, from a boutique label, I'm just going to buy it because
Yeah.
I know I'm not going to be disappointed. There was another one I've got around here somewhere. Uh, oh, here it is. The Dark Mirror,
Oh
which is
yeah,
an
and that
Arrow.
Arrow box set.
Yeah. Yeah, for film noirs. But yeah, it's interesting. I love the 1001 movies list or movies book is something that I absolutely love, and I got that box set because I think Secret Beyond the Door, the other one, is sort of like two in
Two.
the
Yeah.
case,
Hmm.
is on that, and I just thought Olivia de Havilland is in the Dark Mirror, and I thought. And the Dark Mirror is not on the 1001 movies list, but it was such a better film. It was so much better. I was like, why is this one is this one not on it? And she plays twins in it, but which is so impressive for the time. I've got no idea how they did it because it looks great. It looks like it could have been made in the last 20 years, for how good it looks when she plays two characters on the screen at one time.
Right.
But yeah, everything that I've seen her in, got Gone with the Wind, or the big ones, The Heiress, she's fantastic in as well. Just an astonishing filmography, and yeah, one of the greatest actors ever, I think.
Yeah, you don't hear her listed as much, in these kind of conversations. So I'm glad you brought her up because
Oh, my pleasure.
there's only a few. I mean, I still haven't seen the snake pit, but like that is a striking cover, and that's immediately
Oh
what
yeah.
I thought of when you were like, yeah, Olivia. I'm like, oh yeah, well check. So immediately thought that. But yeah, no, I man, more things to add. So,
It's always the way. It's always the way. Yeah, yeah. Highly recommend the Snake Pit. It's a great release from Indicator as well. Brilliantly done by them.
yeah. Any other ones in the past that you want to highlight?
I'd say so. Sort of one at the moment is Jan Moreau. Hopefully I'm saying her name right. The French actress. I've been making my way through some of her films recently. I watched the BFI released Jules and Jim finally over here, so I could finally watch it. And yeah, watched that one, and then followed that up with probably my favorite out of the Jacques Demy box set so far, which was Bay of Angels, which she is just so good in. And then immediately I bought La Notte, which I haven't seen yet, but I've been sort of like, that's been like on the periphery of what I've been wanting to get for a while. And as soon as I watched Bay of Angels, I was like, it's been two absolute incredible films from her so far. I've got to go for it. And then obviously Radiance announced The Bride Wears Black, and so I immediately pre-ordered that as
Order
well.
that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it gets out of hand so quickly. But yeah, I've been really enjoying her performances recently. And yeah, one of my favorite Louis Buñuel films. Is it The Chambermaid? Is it called? She's the main character in that as well, and it's absolutely astonishing. Yeah.
Man, like you said, I'm just gonna keep adding more stuff. I'm excited to like dive into like that, like I said, the Demi box set.
Mm,
And just I'm glad that I own a good number of these things that I even if I haven't
absolutely,
seen
yeah.
them. But
Justification.
yeah, it's just it's all I needed to hear is how good these things are, and just how well these performances are to at least like stick around with like in your memory, especially. It's like I think that's what's super fascinating is like everyone gets to kind of see into themselves to where like, hey, like this is somebody that I find really fascinating on the screen, and like I want to
Mm.
follow their cinematic journey, or at least just see what they do in these different films in these different areas. I think it's awesome. So I always love hearing more about that kind of stuff and seeing these different actors and actresses. I think it's
Mm.
I'm excited. So that's all I'm saying. So
No, I 100% agree. It's one of my favorite things about cinema, really. Like it's why I love the 1001 movies list so much, because from that I've found, like you might find one film from one director on the list, but you watch that and then you're amazed by it, and all of a sudden you're like, whoa, let me dive into this director's work, and then all of a sudden you've opened up a whole new world from that director's filmography, and then maybe there's an actor that you like or something, and then you dive into their filmography, and it's just one thing leading on to the next, and it's so much fun. Like the journey of cinema is about discovery for me, and that's just such a joy. Um, Especially when you happen to love a director's work or an actor's work, and then there's just so much more that they've done to explore, and it's one of the reasons why I love the boutique labels that we've got so much as well, because I would never. I didn't know Jan Moreau was in a film called The Bride Wore Black. I love Truffaut, but I didn't know, he even made it. And now, obviously, all of a sudden, it's on my radar. And not only that, but I get to watch, when it releases in May, we'll get to watch a new restoration of it, the best that it'll ever have looked. And it's just great to have.
yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I know you had mentioned directors in that comment, passing comment. I was gonna say, do you have any favorites in that category that are camps that like maybe that you are following right now, or ones that you've just followed their journey?
Sure. So probably I racked my brain trying to think who's like right up there for me. And this is a Studio Canal set of Luis Buñuel. Um,
Did
I
that just
think
come out too?
oh, this is an older one.
Oh, no,
Um,
gotcha.
I think actually one I've got is a re-release of an even older one that they released. But yeah, the films that I've seen. I mean, I've not even seen his most famous one, Los Olvidados, which I think is the Criterion out of print. I think possibly. Um,
Probably.
yeah, I've not even seen his most famous film, and yet the rest of his filmography that I've seen, I've absolutely loved. Eureka released another one of his as well, but yeah, just go. I'm a huge fan of these sort of director box sets where you just get a real sense of the type of films that a particular director made, and then it's like it's its own special journey. And thankfully with these ones, I think there's maybe 6 or 7 films in here. It's not too like unlike the big Bergman set that you've been making your way through. This is sort of much more manageable to get through. And I just had such a phenomenal time going through these films. I think it was my first experience of Catherine Deneuve as well, who is easily would also be on my list of favorite actors, because she's just mesmerizing on the screen. She's got that sort of magnetic quality that only a few actors are sort of blessed with. But yeah, Bunwell for me, just astonishing. I think it's Diary of a Chambermaid that Jan Moreau is in, which yeah just a great watch, and yeah, not the easiest watch at times, but another one that sort of stays with you. And I feel like yeah, he's obviously passed away, but yeah, I feel like we disagree fundamentally on quite a few issues, but somehow I've just I find it so enjoyable to watch his films and to be challenged by by what he brings up. I think that's such a powerful thing that cinema can do. To just challenge what you think and your philosophies and your beliefs or whatever it might be. And he really goes to town on a lot of different a lot of different themes in his films. The discreet charm of the bourgeoisie is one of the best examples of that, I think. Such an absolutely wild film. There's a great Criterion release of it as well. I think they've got like a three film set of his at least.
Yeah,
And it's the artwork on the Criterion release, I feel like just nails Bunwell's his sort of surrealist, wild style.
sexual politics.
Um, yeah, but yeah, for me, he's definitely one of my top directors. And yeah, hopefully we'll get a Blue Los Olvidados at some point.
I
Hope.
was going to say I would love to get that box set that you have there. I
Mm.
have not. I unfortunately have not seen any of his films yet. I have a few in my collection. I have the DVD actually of the Discreet Charm of the Bourgeoisie, and then I
Mm.
also have the Blu-ray of the Exterminating Angel. So
Oh wow, yeah.
but I haven't seen either of them. So we're we're going down the lanes of choosing things I haven't seen. So, but I'm
Apologies.
excited. I'm excited though. So that's what's cool about it. So,
Mm.
but yeah, that looks like a great box set, and I probably will pick that up because I have the Melville box set from Studio Canal. So
Oh, fantastic! Yeah,
yeah,
I've just recently finished that one actually. Maybe even a couple of weeks ago. Finally watched Unfleek, which yeah, again just a stunning box set. I'm an enormous fan of these Studio Canal sets. Just 6 or 7 films from a director, and
perfect.
it's a great short journey into their body of work. That Melville set was absolutely astonishing, absolutely wonderful to make my way through as well. Yeah.
I've seen Zero again.
Oh, you're in for a treat with that one. You
Yeah.
really are.
I was gonna say the French New Wave is a little bit on the blind side for me. I've only seen kind of like Breathless and 400 Blows and things like
Mm,
that, and a couple of things here and there. But no, I mean I'm excited to these different flavors of the French New Wave is what's going to be really exciting is seeing
mm,
those different personalities come forth. Like we were saying about Demi earlier, I'm super excited about his work because it's going to be something I'm probably not even going to. I probably don't even have an idea of what's going to happen when I'm watching these
mm.
movies. But I just hear fantastic things from everyone I've talked to about it. So I'm excited.
Yeah, they all bring something different. I think that's what's so yeah just so engaging. Around similar themes. All iconoclastic in their own way, but just yeah, quite distinct voices. I've got the Studio Canal also have a Godard box set, which was another brilliant one, and that was sort of my first exposure to French New Wave. And then I've seen not enough of Agnes Varda's films, but the ones I have seen of hers I've absolutely loved. So I'd love to get my hands on that big Criterion box set. Hopefully one day I might be able to. But yeah, I've had the Cares on box set on my wish list for so long. I know it dropped in price and I missed it. So I'm just hoping, yeah, one day soon that will drop in price again, and I'll absolutely snap it up.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing is we wait for these sales.
Yeah, all
um,
the time.
just to afford really. I was going to say, is there any other directors that really pop up in your purview for some of your favorites?
So, still making films today. I know it's a bit sort of most people love him, but Wes Anderson for me, definitely easily one of my favorites. He was sort of I remember seeing The Life Aquatic was the first film of his that I ever watched, and that was sort of during my little Renaissance collecting period in my early 20s, and I just remember. Oh,
That's nothing in the background.
amazing, amazing. Do you know, I just bought a beanie recently and I was looking to try and find that color, but I couldn't find it anywhere. I was gutted. Um, Willem Dafoe's so good in that
I
role.
know he's
Oh
great.
my goodness. I mean, Life Aquatic remains my favorite, probably because it was the first one of his that I saw. And I remember pausing the film as it was going on because I was like, I just don't want it to end. I had no idea that films could be like that. It was amazing. It was a whole different type of filmmaking off like type of film that I'd just never seen before. I didn't know it existed, and it was such a revelation. And yeah, that led me to to watch a lot more of his. And even though we just finally got a release of Fantastic Mr. Fox in the UK, but I imported this one from the US because this is one of my favorites from him.
Yeah.
It's what I call like a perfect bad day cure. If you
Yep.
come home and you've had a
Absolutely.
bad day at work, put on Fantastic Mr. Fox, and yeah, your troubles will your troubles will melt away because it's just wonderful, as so many of his films are, and yeah, very excited to see what to see. I think he's got two films in production at the moment, Asteroid City and another one. So yeah, very keen to see those. Though I will say French Dispatch
It's a,
wasn't quite on. Yeah, it
there
wasn't
were
my favorite of his, but it was
there
good.
were segments that were really great.
Mm,
And then there were segments that were a little just off. I really enjoyed uh the why can't I think of his name? Javier Bardem.
Oh,
Sorry.
Benicio del
Yeah,
Toro, is it?
Benicio
Yeah.
del Toro's. I liked his that segment was my favorite
Mm.
of the bunch where he was just really mad. So
Oh, that whole wheelchair chase scene that they did is that was a work of genius. Absolutely hilarious. I totally agree. That I wish the whole film had been about them, like Lea Seydoux character and Benicio del Toro's, because it was that was definitely the standout section for me as well. Yeah, I absolutely loved it. Um, yeah, sadly we got the other two, which weren't quite on weren't quite on par, but yeah.
that's fair. I mean, we'll see what he does next. So I mean,
Hmm.
it's exciting. So great choice though. Yeah, no, great director. I used to hate him actually.
Oh wow, yeah.
Maybe not hate, I suppose, just like not understand, just because I had watched Life Aquatic actually. In the early the mid 2000s, right when it came out,
Mm.
and did not really get it because I was a kid, I was a teenager at the time, and I'm just like I don't really know what any of this is, and so just wasn't the type of movie I expected it to be. And then I remember watching Moonrise Kingdom some
Mm.
years after that, and I was like, this is so artsy fartsy. I didn't want to deal with it, and
It is very artsy fartsy for
yeah,
sure.
but funnily enough, a few years after that, when Grand Budapest came out, that was the one that I think I was just having like a one of those days where I'm like, I have really nothing I want to watch right now. So I was just on HBO, and that had just been recently uploaded, and I'm like,
Mm.
I'll watch this, and I was pleasantly surprised, and then that brought me back to him, and I watched all his movies, and then I'm like, okay, I'm a fan of this. So I don't know what the heck I was on. So, but yeah,
I mean that's one of my favorite things about cinema and particularly about physical media, and why I rarely get rid of things because you can watch a film at one point in your life and just it just doesn't connect with you. You like you might strongly dislike it, and then you end up watching it a few years later, and somehow your experience has changed. Who you are as a person has changed a little bit, and you might just find that you just fall in love with it. It's something that's so great about it, and I saw not to throw a pretentious spanner in. I read a quote recently from Stanley Kubrick, talking about how like for so long movies were seen as this ephemeral piece of entertainment rather than a piece of art to be revisited, and he was saying how I'm probably butchering what he said, but it's something about like you would never listen to a great piece of music once, or you would never look at a great piece of art once. So why do we dismiss movies after one watch? Um, I mean, he's probably talking about his own movies because they were undoubtedly pieces of art, and not perhaps not every movie is, but definitely. I mean, that definitely made me think a lot about. It's just a great thing to revisit things that we've seen before, and particularly I think for ones that we just didn't enjoy at the time. It's great to you might find that yeah, you still just doesn't it doesn't work for you at all, but every now and again you'll find something that's just yeah, for some reason you hated it at the time, and then then you love it. When I first saw Nacho Libre, I hated it. I saw it
I
at the
also
cinema and
hated it
I
when I initially
despised it.
saw it. I also didn't like that. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
it's funny, eh? And now, I mean, it's a work of comedic genius.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I love it.
Same with Napoleon Dynamite. That was kind of one of those movies where I'm just like I completely disregarded it and like this is really dumb. Even though like I'm a big defender of Billy Madison and
Sure.
as as everyone should be. But that's me projecting right now. But
Oh no.
yeah, but it's fun to go like you're saying, go back and revisit these things, and we don't know what's going on in our lives at that time, and when
Mm.
we're revisiting it, it could click, and it could change our mind, but it challenges us, and I love that concept. So,
Mm.
um, I was gonna say, if you could be in one of these directors that you mentioned films, or any director you'd want to work with and in any capacity, what would that be, and like I guess who?
So, the first name that came to my mind was Wes Anderson. Um, I think that would be a lot of fun to work on. But just it's funny following the French Dispatch. I felt like I don't know if you had the same reaction because the cast was incredible. I love Elizabeth Moss, and I was like delighted to see that she was in a Wes Anderson film. And getting to the end of the film, you're like she was. It was almost pointless her being there. She was completely underutilized, and so many of the great names in that film, the great actors, were just underutilized. So I feel like, yeah, I feel obviously I'm not a great actor, but I feel like yeah, it might be I might be underutilized in a in a Wes Anderson film. Um, so I was thinking of possibly there's a British filmmaker called Joanna Hogg.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah.
she have you seen The Souvenir? It's probably her biggest ones in the last few
I
years.
own I own them, but have not
Oh,
seen them.
amazing!
But I've heard fantastic things about them.
You don't have the A24 version, do you?
I
Oh
do.
man, so jealous, so jealous. I'd love to get my hands on that. But yeah, she interestingly, actually, I think I was listening to or reading an interview with Martin Scorsese, and he was talking about how he had started going through some of her filmography, and then I think he ended up producing or financing some of the Souvenir. Um, and that's how I actually discovered her. And she did a lot of work with Tom Hiddleston before he was an enormous megastar
An
that he is
enormous
now.
villain, as he is.
And yeah, great villain though,
He's a
fantastic.
fantastic villain.
And but yeah, her films are very real, very raw. The Souvenir in particular is yeah, I mean it's absolutely fantastic, and the Souvenir Part Two as well is absolutely brilliant. But I feel like that something like that would be really like a real valuable experience. Maybe not quite as comedic or fun as working on like a Billy Madison or a Happy Gilmore or something like that, which I'm sure was probably an absolute blast to make.
They're just
Um,
all high and drunk the whole time, so
yeah,
most likely.
yeah. Oh man, I mean, you've got to be to be screaming at a golf ball, don't you? And do it with 100% conviction as well. I mean, we know Adam Sandler is an Oscar-worthy actor, even if he was snubbed for Billy Madison.
He was snubbed.
Yeah, something like yeah, one of Joanna Hogg's films. Unfortunately, I haven't seen her most recent one. I need to watch it. But I just feel like that would be yeah, that would just be like, something quite special. And she often works with Tilda Swinton, who I think is
Oh, yeah.
just amazing. I feel like working with her I'm talking like I'm, signing a contract next week to be able to work with her. I feel like it would be amazing to be on a film set and just be anywhere near her and watch her do to act, in person. Um, yeah.
And I was going to say, I second all of that. I would love to be a part of those silly, things like Billy Madison or even like Wes Anderson. But being around Tilda or Joanna for her films, like I mean, yeah, that would be incredible. So I like those choices, and for those reasons as well, I think it's interesting, from all sides of the emotional gambit,
Mm.
So I was gonna say here comes the tough question. I already know you know it. So um, if your life was a movie, what would its title be?
This has been, this has been playing on my mind. It's such a tough question, a great question. I've been having a great time thinking about it. But my initial thought was like a series of blunders. But I feel like that's too self-deprecating. But I feel like that could that yeah, there's some sort of sad comedy in that. Um, but yeah, for a more slightly more serious answer, I'm going to take it from Star Trek, um, The Undiscovered Country. I don't know if you've seen this one. It's absolutely awful. Um, it's not a great film, even though there's a lot of Shakespeare quoted in it, and Christopher Plummer's in it of all people. Um, but yeah, I was thinking a lot. The Undiscovered Country in the film, The Undiscovered Country is a reference to peace, like peace between humans and Klingons, or the Federation and Klingons, I suppose. But I just feel sort of, like without getting too real, life is like an undiscovered country. Like one, I used to live in a different city, and then all of a sudden, in the space of like the blink of an eye, I'd moved to a different city. I had a different job, different set of experiences, different friends. Finding a new hobby just before the pandemic and lockdown and all of that sort of thing. And the future's a wonderful undiscovered country of exciting possibility. I feel like that sort of like a hopeful a hopeful title, certainly more hopeful than a series of blunders, even though that's probably more accurate.
I like the self-deprecation. That's something I'm a fan of. Although many people, there are several people in my life who are not a fan of it, and they're like, it's like I can't tell if you're being serious. I'm like, well, kind of half serious, but but
it's the British sarcasm. It's full
well,
of
it's
self-deprecation.
weird because I must have, I don't know how I inherited that love. Maybe it's from the Pythons. I have no idea, but you
Oh
know,
sure, yeah.
it, I just absolutely like that's my favorite type of humor is the very dry and very much like it's like no, I meant to say what I said and I'm sticking to the bit. So
Every time I watch your videos, I'm always hoping you're sat in front of the shelf that has Toast of London on it,
oh yeah,
because
there
oh
he
man,
is over
that's
there. He's over there.
it's so good.
Who?
That's the peak.
Oh yeah, I was it's like yeah, we were hanging out with Michael Fassbender. Who? I just
Every time I
um
just want to scream Ray Purchase.
oh,
Um,
speaking of Ray Purchase, I don't know if I've mentioned this actually, but for my birthday last year, my best friend actually did a cameo from him.
no
Happy
way.
birthday. Yeah. That was like the best birthday gift I've ever received.
Amazing. Did he do it as Ray
Oh,
Purchase, I'm guessing?
absolutely. It's like, hello, Nathan Jones. And it's like, oh my gosh, this is already amazing. So but yeah, it was surreal to say the least. So Toast of London, Toast or anything that Matt Berry's in,
Oh yeah. Oh
I'm
man.
addicted to. So I'm glad he's getting more recognition now. I feel
Oh,
like
absolutely. Yeah.
put him in anything. Put him in the new Star Wars, which he is, in Mandalorian
Is
as
he
a
in the
robot.
Mandalorian?
He's a
Oh
robot,
my
yeah.
goodness. Is he? No
Yeah.
way.
So all
He
things
deserves it. Yeah.
he does.
It's funny. It's funny, like because obviously in Toast he does, like one of the running gags is that he does a lot of the voiceovers. I feel like before that he had never done a voiceover. Then it becomes a joke in Toast. But he's on like loads of adverts over here now,
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
doing the voiceovers. It's almost like how somehow he's gotten work from doing a comedy voiceover, and now he's actually getting like genuine voiceovers. But it's funny because I can rarely take him seriously when he's doing one. I feel like I know he was doing
Where's the?
something funny in that booth, like like Clem Fandango was there, asking him questions, but
Can you hear me? It's Glenn
yes, I
Fandango.
can
Can
hear
you
you,
hear
Clem
me?
Fandango.
Oh my
The work
God.
experience, boy.
I always love the outfits that
Oh
they
man.
have on. They're just
Oh
constantly
yeah.
changing, always something going on in the background. And that's another thing too. It's like you know, every time you watch those episodes of Toast, there's something new that I spot every single time.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
The level of detail and like those bits that just keep going. It's incredible. So I could talk
One of the
on.
best comedies for so and speaking of Star Wars, what's the name? Daisy Ridley is in one of the episodes.
Yeah, she is.
It's
She's one of the
like
stagehands. Yeah, I
so
remember.
funny. I think that was before she got Star Wars as well.
It was.
I
Yeah.
listened to Matt Berry talk a little bit about it, and he was just like, "Yeah, just hired her. I had no idea. Obviously, why would you have an idea? It's before she got cast, but yeah, it's just so funny that Daisy Ridley of all people is, yeah, as you say, one of the stagehands in an episode of Toast.
I know.
Yeah, I prefer her in that to to Star Wars.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, she's great in that. I mean, one of the few times we saw the stage play that he was a
Oh
star.
yes.
So, oh man, great stuff. So everyone who's watching this right now, go watch Toast of London. What are you doing?
Mm.
It's an incredible time. But anywho, as we kind of wrap this entire thing up, my most important question, at least I think the one that I think a lot of people hope have a good time thinking about at least like why we do this whole thing. But how is the medium, I guess, a film or television or whatnot, how's that changed your worldview or your outlook on life?
Yeah, enormously. Um, I think I was thinking, interesting. I was thinking about this recently, just sort of independently. Um, I think cinema has such a powerful ability to help us get better at empathy and to be able to empathize with other people. Um, there's a great quote from Edward Yang's Yi Yi. I don't know if you've seen that one.
Oh
Absolutely
yeah, I've seen it.
phenomenal
Phenomenal
film.
film. Hmm.
Um, I think that the one of the boys is quoting his uncle or something, and he says something along the lines of, "Since cinema was invented, or since films were invented, we all live 3 times as long." And that's stuck with me ever since I saw that film. I love that idea that we all get to experience like something of someone else's life, even if it's fictitious. Um, we all live, we all can't often see past our own experiences, right? So, how my family was, how I grew up, the jobs that I've done, that informs every single choice that I make in my life. And often, I don't know about you, but I often get frustrated by like, colleagues at work who seem to make baffling choices, and you just think, how, it's like so it's so wild, things are like wildly illogical, or how people act, you can't really understand it. But similar cinema gives us that ability to actually like see the world through someone else's eyes for just a couple hours. Whether that's something like City of God, you get
Oh,
a glimpse into what it's like to grow up in a Brazilian slum, and you get it, obviously it's not the same as living it, but you just get these little glimpses into how other people live, um, how other cultures are. I watched recently, or probably not recently, probably months ago, but Dry Summer on from Martin Scorsese's World Cinema Project, which is a Turkish film from like I think the 50s or the 60s, and it's just it's something so incredible about being able to experience something of another culture or another place or someone else's life. Even Yi Yi, I've never been to Taiwan, but I feel like I've got a tiny glimpse into what life might be like there from just from watching that film. And I think that's just something so valuable and really just useful in our daily lives. When someone does make some sort of baffling decision, you can kind of think, oh, okay, maybe who knows what their experiences are that have led to them informed that decision that they've made, or just help you understand people in wildly different circumstances to yourself. I think it's just something just so wonderful about that medium, getting to almost walk in someone else's shoes or see life through their eyes for just a couple hours. It's something pretty special.
I love that answer, and I really love that Yi quote. In fact, I'm gonna remember it. I got emotional when you were talking about it. I was like, oh man, like and I just thought about all of. I mean, that's the crazy thing is like, it's indescribable, I suppose. Just all the different things we can think about. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like when we watch all these films, I'm sure a lot of us have like a huge backlog. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff in our memories that aren't really there as much because we've seen so
Mm.
much.
Of
Um,
course, yeah.
but I love that hunger that we have for seeing other people's stories, and I think that it really, like, that's really telling, that like that one quote can explain all the things I just said in such a better way, and then also at the same time really color everyone else's experience, but making it uniquely, something
Mm.
that we all can take for ourselves, I suppose.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. Because it's, as you say, like, I'm sure we've forgotten so much, but every film that you see probably leaves even if it's a little mark on you, in whatever small way. And I suppose that's why we've got our favorites, because they leave that bigger mark that you want to revisit.
As we get this get this thing wrapping, I was going to say thank you so much for joining along for this, and this has been a spectacular time, so I appreciate
Oh,
you here.
thank you so much for having me again. I absolutely massively appreciate it. It's been, yeah, just such a joy to think about the questions and the answers. It's been yeah, I've had a great time. I've had a great time. Yeah, thinking about it. Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. Massively appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate you and what you do, and so I was going to say, speaking of that, you want to let everyone know kind of where to find you and whatnot.
Sure, yeah. So my YouTube channel is called Goose's Movies. I think it's just at Goose's Movies. And then I'm just there and on Instagram at Goose's Movies as well, where I try and be fairly, certainly more active than YouTube anyway. It's much easier
Sure,
to take a picture and
you
post
can
it
do
than,
that. Yeah.
yeah, exactly, yeah.
No, I
I
get it.
managed to do that fairly regularly.
Well, nice. I'll be putting those in the description down below for everyone to check out, and I hope everyone has enjoyed this conversation. It is one that thoroughly enjoyed. And so I want to say thanks again, Warren, for joining me on this journey, and let's keep continuing these types of conversations. So I hope everyone can let us know what you think down in the comment section down below. Tell us some of your favorite movie memories, and yeah, we'll catch you next time. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Give it a like, comment down below, share, hit the notification bell, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. I'm not jonesing around.